Hello guitar players and welcome to this video. My name is Jack Jennings. I'm trying something a bit different this week. Usually YouTube lessons are short and focused on one thing and just try to get a point across quite quickly. What I'm going to show you today is actually a complete hour-long lesson that I was doing with one of my students. He's a member of the Indian Classical Guitar Academy, where we adapt Indian classical music to the electric guitar. He's actually playing an acoustic, but all of the stuff that we do is generally just focused on electric guitar, and he's going to be getting electric guitar quite soon, I think. So in this lesson, what I'm actually doing is talking about Western theory and chords, scales, arpeggios, and how they relate to Indian theory, the Sargam system. Kaushik, my student here, is trained in Carnatic music and he knows some North Indian music too. The North Indian music is what we're really focusing on in most of our guitar lessons. But I'm just teaching him about how to look at chords and look at scales, but using the Sa Re Ga Ma Pa Da Ni Sa, the Sargam system, so he can branch it onto what he's already learned and all of the different music that he understands so well because of his training in Carnatic music. So I thought this just might be quite interesting for students to look at. One last thing I'll mention is that the tuning I've got on my guitar uses the Chikari strings, so I have two high strings in the place of where the low strings would normally be on the guitar. So all of the chord shapes that I'm playing are just using the top four strings to facilitate this and incorporate it into more of the Indian classical way that we approach the guitar in our lessons. So I think you guys should find this interesting, particularly if you're from an Indian background in terms of your theory and you want to know more about chords and scales and how they connect together. So I hope this is interesting for you guys, and I'll see you on another video soon. Okay, so we're talking about just some basic harmony principles. So the 1, 3, 5 notes of a scale give you the major chord. So that would be like, a Sa, Ga, Pa. And when we play a major chord, like this D major chord, I'm just using the top four strings, then this is actually Sa, Pa, Sa, and then Ga is on the top.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so we often do that in guitar chords. It's usually like 1, 5, and then the octave, and then the third might be on the top. Yeah, or if it's a different kind of chord shape, you might have the third on in there, and then maybe another fifth note above that.
Understood.
Or an octave, like a high Sa. So this 1, 3, 5, like Sa, Ga, Pa. So if you're in Kafi, for example, then instead of the major third, the Shudga, we've got Kormal Ga, which is minor third. So that means that the 1, 3, 5 is going to be like 1, flat 3, 5.
Okay, can you tell me the Sargam again?
Yeah, so that's like Sa, Kormal Ga, Pa, Sa, Ga,
So that's a minor chord.
That's right, yeah. That's a minor arpeggio. When you play them as separate notes, da, 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 that's Sa, Ga, Pa, Sa, Pa, Ga, Sa. That's what we call arpeggios.
Oh, okay. So that's the one where they have complicated finger positions and they play quickly.
Yeah, you can do arpeggios that because that's what they call like a 1 octave arpeggio, because it goes to that. The way we think of that is like it's going from low Sa to middle Sa. Sa, Ga, Pa, Sa, Pa, Ga, Sa. But you could do one which went like that goes up to the high Sa. Yeah, so or then you could go like you could do with the extra high sa as well.
Yeah.
So some guitar players that are really good at arpeggios. I mean, I never really play arpeggios anymore.
Is it like it sounds like it would sound good if you have a triplet sort of beat going on.
Yeah, you can do things with triplets. I mean, a lot. It's quite unusual to hear actually just a straight minor triad played like that. What people tend to do is more play triads that add more notes. So things like sorry. This is I don't play arpeggios anymore. I'm pretty bad at it, but this is basically because what you start to notice with this 1 3 1 3 5 is that all we really did is that we went from 1 to 3, which was skipping a note, and then we went from 3 to 5, which was skipping a note again. So what we did the first time was just 1 3 5, and then just straight to the octave. So that was just only the notes of the minor chord. But what you can do is just start to keep going, just skipping a note each time. So if you think of it in Sargam, you get like Sa, Ga, Pa, and then if you just kept going, skip Da, you'll get Ni, and then skip Sa, you get Re, and then skip then skip Ga, then you'll get Ma, and then skip Pa, you'll get Da, and then skip Ni, and then you'll get Sa.
Yeah.
So if you do that, you've actually played every note. So like Sa, Ga, Pa, Ni, Re, Ma, Da, Sa. Sorry. Now this is
we're playing
like
all the notes, but not in order.
Yeah, that's right. I'm skipping a note each time. So now this is basically. Sorry. It's quite a jazzy kind of sound, but this kind of jazzy thing. I can't play jazz. But you get the idea that see, it doesn't actually come into Indian music very much. They don't really use arpeggios so much. But you have to understand the basic idea of the arpeggio to actually play. You know, to understand how a chord is made.
So, so when you talk about that, the first, the second, the third, the flat third. So see, you talk with respect to the major scale, right?
That's
you say
right.
That and so the major scale, if you say in terms of rags, it's usually that Shankarabharanam, right? So, and then Re is the Shudri.
Yep.
Then
so are you trying to play the major scale?
The major scale.
Yeah. So it's Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Da, Ni, Sa.
Sa. Re.
So I'm playing a Sa on 7, and then Re on 9, and then the B string.
Okay. B. Ga. Which Ga do you play?
I'm playing the Ga. Should Ga. So everything Shuddha is major scale.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this a specific rag or something, or like?
Well, people in North Indian music, they call it Bilaval, but it's not Bilaval, the rag Bilaval. It's like the Tat Bilaval, which is the scale.
The family of rags, yeah.
Yeah. So what's it called in
Carnatic? It's called Shankarabharanam.
So it is that right? Okay, okay. So that's what. So it's basically Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Da, Ni, Sa. So if we do that on, do you want to do that in like a scale shape or on one string, or we could do both?
Can you show me on one string so I just get an idea of the gaps?
Yeah. So on one string, if you do it, I'll tell you what. Let's do it on your D string, because this is going to help us to play these chords.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
so we go 0 and then 2. This is on the D string.
Oh, down the D string. Sorry.
That's okay. That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
So 0, 2, 4,
Yeah.
then 5,
Yeah.
7,
Okay.
then 9,
Okay.
11,
Okay.
12. Right. So that's sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa. So the really great thing here is that the numbers, what we think of in Western music, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, is the same as the shuddha notes sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa.
Ah, understood. Now I got it.
Yeah. And also, the really great thing is that the way that we normally think of sharps and flats with the Kormal and Tivra is also the same. Now, there are things that we don't do in Indian music, like we don't say Kormal pa,
Yeah.
or we don't say pa tiva or stuff like that. So
Which is basically the
well, pa tivra would be Kormal da. Yeah.
Coleman. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Sorry.
Yeah. Or pa Kormal would be tivra ma. Yeah.
Yeah. Understood.
So in in Indian music, pa and sa, they're fixed. We don't think about moving those.
Yeah.
So that means that we don't have a different name or a position for those notes. In Western music, we don't think about the fifth in such a fixed way. So we can say things like flat 5. But the reason that we usually think of it as we often think of it as flat 5 instead of sharp 4, is that you get sometimes a chord where you have like, you often add another note.
Okay.
Which is actually a really beautiful sound, but we think of that as like 1, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7. So instead of thinking it as like 1, flat 3, sharp 4, we think of it as flat 5 because the standard one would be 1, like 1, flat 3, 5, because that in the chord it's like this. So if we flatten the fifth, then we get that. It's very jazzy sounding chord.
Okay.
Yeah, let me play that high.
Okay.
It's kind of really interesting sound. So that's why in Western music it does sometimes get a little bit more complicated, because sometimes people even say things like double flat. Not
because they want to keep with respect to the fifth note, yeah. So that you can get an idea.
Yeah, I mean sometimes people do things like double flat 7, which is the same as a sixth. Same as a da. Like it'd be like double Kormal ni would be the same as da. So so sometimes in Western music they double flat things, or they like sharpen the 2 or stuff like that, because sometimes we cram like more than 7 notes into an octave. Yeah, because you have things like I'll try not to get too drowned in this, because I want to try to help you with these chords, but it's just interesting to know that we get something called the diminished scale, where you go. We also call it half step, whole step, because we basically go like half step is like on the guitar is like 1 fret. Half step,
semitone.
Yeah, that's right. Then tone, and then you go semitone, tone, semitone, tone, semitone, tone. So it's a completely symmetrical pattern. Jazz musicians also call it the symmetrical scale. More like the American jazz musicians, the symmetrical scale, and that you can turn that around. You can start with the tone and then the semitone. So then So
Oh,
they're symmetrical. But what happens if you do that? You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You get 8 notes in an
yeah,
octave. Now
yeah, okay.
you also get that in some rags where they have, you know,
Both formal and short.
Kormorni and Shudni,
Yeah,
or something like that. But they tend to split it up with like ascending and
yeah,
descending.
yeah, yeah,
Whereas in Western music you can have all of those like in the same,
yeah, yeah.
because they don't worry as much about that. Because I think the reason in Indian classical music, I think the reason why they divide them up a bit more is because the sort of strength and the character of each interval of each swara is seen as really significant. So you don't want to play like sa ni ni sa ni ni, like you want to kind of
Yeah, yeah,
separate the knees, like sa ni da ni sa ni da
yeah,
ni da pa, just so that you don't kind of merge or confuse them. So they're more, they try
yeah,
to
yeah.
separate them, because and
You don't want them to be
it's
mixed
the
in
relationship.
you don't want them to be mixed in a lot of different sounds, and so you lose its own specific uniqueness.
Yeah, yes, that's right. Yeah, you sort of, you almost make it a bit foggy in a way. It's not as kind of clear, because what you have in a lot of jazz music is a lot of chromaticism, where we play things like, where you get da 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 da, which is just like one note after another. Da, 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 da. So that's called chromaticism. Or they do things like, so you're
Uh,
always kind of closing around, playing like the note just above and just
on,
below the note
uh,
that you're doing. So these things, they almost make it more. There's got like a kind of obscure quality to it, whereas Indian classical music has a really strong like tonal quality.
yeah. Okay.
The I say tonal in terms of like the real word is tonality. So
Uh-huh.
even if we're playing something which has got a very strange tonality to it, like Rag Toddi or Rag Marva, it's still very precise, and you keep that tonality. Whereas a lot of jazz music is about the tonality kind of like shifting,
Hmm.
or even like becoming the atonality, they say, where it's like it's not even one tonality, it's not any tonality, because it's constantly
Yeah,
like there's no sa there, because
yeah.
it's always moving, right? So these are the real, like, the kind of more extremes, like what really kind of, I think, makes the styles different. Um, but
So you
yeah,
follow, you said you told that there are that's how you number the you have numbers like the sharp fifth. So you say that with respect to that specific scale, that the major scale.
yeah. So
So
so major scale is
so
the
Kafi would
foundation.
have these specific notes. So like the first.
Yeah,
So it's the first and the second
yeah,
and the sharp flat three, right?
yeah. That's right. Flat three. Yeah,
Okay, flat three. So and then the fourth
yeah. Four. Yeah,
and fifth,
that's right. Yeah.
fifth and then seventh.
But there's also the da.
Okay, sorry. Fifth da is flat seven.
No, the da is the sixth.
Da sixth.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
and then knee is seventh.
yeah. That's right.
There's,
But it's the Cornwall knee, so it's flat.
sorry, one second. Yeah, I just confused myself. Second.
It's okay.
Okay, yeah. So Komal.
That's
So
right.
it's a
Yeah,
flat seven.
that's right. Flat
Flat
seven.
seven,
Yeah,
the sixth, and then Sa's the eighth or first.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. That's right. So what I was saying earlier was that the foundation, the way that we look at Cornwall being flat and Tivra being sharp, though those are the foundation, kind of the foundational rules in terms of how you can cover all the different notes of the octave.
Okay,
Okay,
understood.
so Western music can be a bit different because it can do things like double flat,
Yeah.
or you can say, you can take any note and say, oh, I'm going to sharpen this note. But for most of the scales that we use, you can use just the same numbers, so you can have the same rules, you can just sharpen the 4, and then the flattened notes are like the 2, 3, 6 and 7 are the notes to flatten. So anytime that you're looking and you're thinking, right, so this is a Cornwall Gar, so Cornwall Gar will always be flat 3, or Cornwall Ray is flat 2. Okay, so they work, in synchronization in that
So,
way. So that makes it quite nice. So when you're thinking about chords now, so far we've just established, right. So if it's a major scale, then you have the major third, and then if it's the Rag Kafi, for example, which has a Cornwall Gar, then you would have a Cornwall Gar, a minor third. So do you know that open D
yeah,
minor chord?
yeah. The D minor chord.
That's right. Yeah, good. Okay, so can you see that the only change there is on the top string? It was on
Uh huh.
fret 2, now it's on fret 1.
Yeah. So that
That's
the top string is basically Komal gun.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
understood. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you can do when we start moving these chord shapes up using this tuning system, we can't really play like the E major or the A major chord because we don't have those low strings. But what we can do is we can use this, they call it D shape, and
Yeah.
then we can move that up to get all the different chords in that scale. So it's probably best to actually start with the major scale. And what you're going to do here is that we're gonna progress through the scale as if
Uh
we were
huh.
playing as if we're playing sa re ga ma pa da ni sa, but we're
Yeah.
gonna play a chord attached to every note of the
Understood.
scale. Yeah, each
Okay.
note will generate a chord, and we're always following the same progression of adding like the third and the fifth note.
Uh
So
huh.
if I start on the second note, then I'm playing. It's going to be this shape, which is this is a minor shape,
Uh
but
huh.
you've got to play it a bit differently because you don't have any open strings now. You've got to cover that D string with the index
Yeah.
finger. So give that a strum.
All the strings.
Just do the top 4 for now.
Okay.
Good. So that's an E minor chord from D. Next letter
Yeah.
is
So
E.
you moved. You moved two steps up. So
That's
so
right.
two
Well,
half steps. So
yeah, 2 half step is one step. Yeah.
yeah. So
So we've moved there, and it's given us a minor chord,
uh-huh.
because those are the notes that we find because we're staying in that D major scale, right?
Okay.
If we made it a major chord, then we would be adding like this note on the top, which is
Which is
not in
in
the
the
it's
major
not
scale.
not in the D major scale. Yeah.
Understood. Understood.
Okay. Um, okay. So that's that one. And then you just move that same shape up 2 frets. Yeah,
Uh
that's
huh.
right. Good. And now this
Okay.
is called F sharp minor. Good, good.
Okay.
So
So we started at D, E
that's right.
minor, and then F sharp minor because E, F. Okay, F sharp. Okay, understood. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Because if you played F, that would
Uh-huh.
actually be like F is like Cornwall Gar, whereas F sharp is should Gar in relationship to the
Ah,
original D.
understood, understood.
So then the next one is G, but now it's a major chord. Now a major shape looks like this when you move it around.
So you got to
It's
bar it, huh?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not actually barring. It might if I was barring it would look more like this. I'm just
Okay.
only playing that one string. So it's like this shape, it's like the D major shape, but I've got to find a way to do that with my sort of upper three fingers, like
Yeah,
that.
like
Yeah,
that.
great. So give that a strum as well. Good.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So that's your G major chord.
Huh?
And then we get another major chord. You can move all of that up 2 frets, and then you get
Okay.
yeah. Good. Great.
Okay.
Right. And now we're
So
going to get
that's
A major.
G
Yeah.
to A.
Well,
Okay.
after G straight away.
Okay.
Now there's a B, but it's a B minor. So move the whole thing up 2 frets, and then swap the top. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you change the top
Okay.
string. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
getting this really quickly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
give that a strum. Good. Right. So if you look at that top string,
Uh-huh.
can you see that top string is playing Sa that's playing a
Uh,
D. Okay.
okay.
So you can see that's why that one had to be minor. Okay.
That one had to be minor because Sa, Ga,
But
Da.
oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah, because well if you think of all the notes in relationship to D, you've got Da, Ga, Da, Sa. But if
okay.
you if you just look right at that top E string,
Uh-huh.
when I say top string, I mean the top
Yeah.
E. That's giving you a D note, which is Sa in the D major scale. Right?
Okay. So and that is
That's
the.
that's in this chord, in the
Uh-huh.
B minor chord, that
Uh-huh.
gives you the minor third. Okay.
Okay. So with respect to this note.
Yes, in respect to that note, because what we do is when we change chord,
Huh?
we temporarily think of that chord, the root note of that chord being like
Uh,
that's the tonal center of that chord.
Understood, understood,
Yeah.
understood. We don't keep the same reference like for all the chords.
Right, that's correct. Yeah, yeah. So there's different ways that you can think of it. I mean, you've got the tonal center, like what they say is what the key, the key of the piece. So we're in the key of D major,
Uh-huh.
D major scale. But every time that we make a new chord, we look at the root note of each chord, and then we compare the other notes to that root note. Yeah,
Cool,
and
understood.
that's why that's how you call that a B minor chord or a B major chord.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, understood.
but you can also compare them to the fundamental tonic, and that's something
Mm-hmm.
that can be very exciting because then we can still
Uh,
think of it in terms of like a rag. But we'll
uh,
in a moment I'll show you more of like a kind of halfway, like doing a bit of both. So anyway, that's the B minor, and then the last chord before the top one
yeah,
is
different one.
yeah, that one.
I saw
Yeah,
the videos.
yeah, that one's on the video. So well, they're all on the video, but it's good to remember that one. So this is called minor 7 flat 5, because well, first of all, we need to look at what would the normal minor chord be like in that place. This is a
Huh?
C sharp. So if you play a normal minor chord, right, it's like that. Now, what we've got here, you see, you've got fret 13 and fret 14 on the B string. So that 14, that's the root note. That's like, because it's like, okay, because that's what we call an octave shape between your D string and B string. That's an octave.
Okay, so
It's a 14.
okay.
Your
Okay, sorry.
D string was good. B string 14.
Okay.
Right. So
Understood.
that's the octave, right? So if we take that little finger now and we take it like down a fret, so we actually play what you played, like, sorry, then that's a seventh.
Yeah.
then-
I'm seeing where this is going now.
Yeah, and then if you take it down again, so you get it to there, then that's a flat
That's it.
seven. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we can do is instead of playing a minor chord like this, we can play it and include that note, and then it becomes a minor 7, and that's actually like it's a kind of smoother, cooler kind of sound. So to play that, it's you've got to go 11,
Like this?
13, and then 12, 12. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So play that.
Okay, it's pretty different.
Yeah, it's quite squeezed. Good, that's right, yeah. So that's got a nice kind of sound to it. It's a bit more like funky sounding. So, because you like Pink Floyd, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
So you hear this kind of another brick in the wall is D minor. Another brick, a slightly different way of playing the chords. Or is it just a D minor? But it's the same type of chord, right? So we've got that, but the thing what's going on here is that this note, this little finger, that's not in D major. That note is not in D major. The note that is in D major is the one at fret 12. So so that's why we go 11, 12, 12, 12.
So you can break the rules, right? And play that note.
You can do. So what we have, I mean, it depends what the style of music is, but usually jazz tends to play notes where they like borrow chords. They're called borrowed chords because they technically belong to a different scale, but you can borrow them and include them in different scales. So you can. So often a lot of chord progressions that have more, like, because you get this in fusion. I don't know if you've listened to much in Indian jazz fusion or just normal jazz, but they have they'll do things like this kind of thing where none of those chords belong in the same key, but they sound cool together somehow. But and you could break it down. There'd be some music theory reason why maybe they work, but essentially your ear just can hear these different chords and then just think like I can just it just finds your ear just finds it pretty for some reason. So you can break the rules, but what we try to do in the first place is see all of the chords that you get when you're only in one scale. So you're only using the notes of D major. You can picture it like, imagine you had a piano, but you took the notes of that scale, but then you took away all of the other keys on the piano. So the only keys on the piano were only the D major keys. So then doesn't matter how many different keys you tried to play at the same time, it would always be D major.
Understood.
And we call it diatonic harmony. So diatonic harmony means just harmony is chords, so it just means all of the chords that just come from one scale. But this is basically, if I look at, I mean, you guys haven't really heard me do much fusion stuff, but I used to do a lot of it, and I'm actually planning, just next week, I'm planning to start recording some more fusion stuff. But what I try to do is I I take a scale. To take a rag or to take a scale, and it might be a kind of unusual scale that you only normally hear in played in Indian classical music, and then I'll look at chords that come from that. So people have called them like rag chords or something like that. And then you try to make these different chord progressions, but you can also stick to that tonic. So you have the tempura playing, so it still sounds like it's coming from Indian music. So what we can also do with this is what we've done here is like we keep playing the different root notes on the D string. That's the high D again. So so you can hear that. But if I actually ignore that string and let that string just be D, I can play the same shapes like. Can
I try that?
And then you're always hearing that, and then that's sort of halfway. It's still got that sa
Essence in it.
still got the essence of that sa, but you're changing the harmony on top.
You're
but
just
doesn't really.
You're taking the root note of every chord, yeah.
I'm always keeping the root note as D.
Yeah, understood.
And then changing the chord on top of that. So in a way, like the chord never really changes. But you change the colors on top of that drone that stays the same.
It's a D chord, but then it gets complicated every time.
Yeah.
And the nomenclature of that chord becomes more and more difficult as you keep going.
Yeah. Because when you look at it, I mean, if I play like this one, this is the second chord. It doesn't have the 1, 3, or 5, or even the 7. It doesn't have the notes that you normally associate with what makes a D major chord. It's the 1, 3, 5, and then you can add the 7 to make it like that's a major 7. But if I do the next chord, which was this one, okay, but I take away the root note, so it's just that. In relationship to D, what I've got there is like the Da, Re, Ma, which is like Da, Re, Ma, the 6, 2, and the 4. So
how would you name that?
Well, the way that we'd actually the simple name for that is D suspended.
There's a lot of complicated names.
Suspense. You could the technical name would be D sus 6, 9, 11.
Wow.
Because I've taken.
I get it. I get it.
And I've also got the 9th, and I've got the 11th. But the reason we say 9 and 11 is just to tell you that it's like above the sa. It's above the octave, right? Yeah. So like a 9 is the same as a 2, but because 8.
I get it.
Yeah, right. 8 becomes 1, so 9 is 2, 11 is 4, and then the top one, 13 is the same as 6.
Yeah, okay.
So you can play a chord like this, and that has this da at the top. So that would be called like a 13, like D major 7 add 13. So basically it's all the same stuff, but it's just mixing it up. But this relates to what I was saying earlier about we can do arpeggios, and we can go like 1, 3, 5, but then we can go 7, 9, 11, 13. So you get after the 13 you get back to 1. Sorry. because all that's doing is just jumping a note each time.
Yeah.
So we the name for that is going up in thirds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because the relationship from one note to the next is always like a third away. Okay, because if I play 3/5, then that's a third.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a third relationship. Okay,
Yeah.
if I go 3/3/4, that's
Huh?
a second. So 3/5, that's a third. Or if I went 3/3/6, then that's a fourth.
Yeah. Understood.
Yeah. So this is just intervals, right? Because
Yeah.
in Indian music, and we always think of intervals in terms of like the relationship from sa to da or sa to ni. But you can also think about intervals just in the relationship between any two notes. So from pa to ni is
Yeah.
a third, because
Okay.
it skipped da, so when pa da ni, so pa to ni is a third.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is what this is the kind of the language. You see, music theory is all just this kind of stuff, and the only reason why it gets sometimes complicated is because there's just a lot of information kind of piled up, but it all
Yeah.
breaks down into just the relationship of different intervals. So it's not really that complicated. It's just that sometimes things move quite quickly, or you have a very big chord moving to a different chord, and then they each belong into different keys, and then you think, well, how do you break that down? But it's all just the language of intervals.
Like.
The basic language of it is just this. It's just quite simple. It's just counting
Yeah.
the notes.
Understood. Yeah. So. So we did the chords in major scale. Can I just try that out?
Yeah, doing them. What do you want to now to try them
For
without
coffee?
the? You want to do them with Kathy? Okay,
Yeah.
we'll see if we can do it quickly. So Kathy. So first of all, minor. First one is minor. Okay.
Okay.
Second one is also minor.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Huh?
Good. Now the
Okay.
third one, Cormulgar, so you have to go third fret with the index finger, and it's major. So now spread that out. So it's like 3 and then 5, 6. So you need to
Oh, okay. Yeah.
stretch it out. So that's major. Next one is also major.
Okay. So
So
go
move,
up. Yeah.
move it up 2 frets. Good. So
Okay.
that's the fourth one. Right. Now the fifth one is minor. So
Okay.
move it up 2 frets. Good.
Oh,
Minor shape. Great. Got that?
yeah.
Good. Yes. Nice. Yeah. And now the sixth one is
Yeah.
minor 7 flat 5. So
Yeah. So.
so it's like 9, 10, 10, 10.
Yeah.
Great. Really good. Nice. Good. And then the seventh one is major. So
Okay.
major. So yeah, that's right. Good. Play that one. And then the top one is minor again at fret 12,
Yeah.
like
So we're
that.
coming back to D minor.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, coming back to that one.
Cool.
Good. That's right. Yeah. So I would try playing these along with your drone. I mean, you can use the Chikari strings, but try it with the drone, because what actually happens here is that as you play through them, like that one sounds like it's home, because that's actually C major, because all of these notes in D, the D Kafi, which is the Dorian scale, D Dorian has got the same notes as C major.
But it's moved up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We've shifted the tonic to the second note of C major, which
Yeah.
makes it so. The major scale is got so much strength, so much dominance that your ear just thinks, "Oh, this must be. I must have arrived."
C major.
Yeah, but if you play it with a drone and you've got a really strong drone, then you'll hear it like. Then you'll hear that as the tonic, but you get
Okay.
a better feeling for that if you do that with a drone.
Can you just repeat the chords again? Like, could you play the drums or from your side?
Yeah.
Like drown out the noise.
Yeah. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
So you can try it like that as well. Yeah.
So, anyways,
Yeah,
thanks for this. The
I think
hour
we're
really
fine.
flew by. I learned a lot.
I'm glad. Yeah, I think this was a good experience. So, okay, so
Yeah.
I'll see you next week.
Yeah. See you. Bye.
Okay, bye.